All right, let's jump right in. If you're a CISO, the whole conversation around agentic AI probably gives you a serious case of déjà vu. The technology feels brand new, but the security headache? Well, that follows a pattern that is all too familiar. And this question right here really gets to the heart of it. On one hand, you've got business leaders who are chomping at the bit. They want to unleash AI agents everywhere, and for good reason. The efficiency gains could be massive. But on the other hand, security is stuck right in the middle, trying to figure out how to enable all that speed without, opening up a whole new universe of risk. Look, this isn't our first rodeo. We've been through this cycle of disruption before. Remembers the move to the cloud? That completely shattered our idea of centralized control. Then came SaaS, and suddenly our data was scattered everywhere. And then DevOps created this absolute explosion of machine identities. Every single time, what was at the center of the problem and the solution? It was identity. And agentic AI, well, it's just the next chapter in that same book. So let's really dig into the core of it. Why are these AI agents completely breaking our old security playbooks? Because this isn't just some small update, it's a fundamental change in what an identity even means anymore. And this right here is the key takeaway. It's so easy to get distracted by the big, abstract conversations about AI governance and ethics. And don't get me wrong, those are important. But for a CISO, the immediate five-alarm fire is an identity problem. If we mess up the identity part, frankly, none of the other stuff is going to matter. I mean, think about it. For decades, our security programs were built on a really simple, predictable foundation: people. We had employees, we had contractors, we put them in a directory, gave them clear roles, and when they left, poof, we had a process to turn off their access. It was neat, it was tidy, it was manageable. And this is exactly where that old model just falls apart. A human, for the most part, behaves predictably. An AI agent, on the other hand, acts with intent. A human works at, well, human speed. An agent works at machine scale, 24/7, and never gets tired. And maybe the most critical difference, our human identities were centralized. AI agents are decentralized by their very nature, popping up all over the place, often with zero central oversight. So what we're dealing with is a completely new class of identity. This is something that can authenticate itself, authorize its own actions, and then execute them, all without a human in the loop. And it's not staying in one neat little box. It's jumping across clouds, SaaS apps, and internal systems. From a security standpoint, that's about the most complex cocktail of risk you could possibly mix. This complexity creates what I like to call the ghost in the machine. It's this autonomous, persistent identity that, if you don't manage it, starts to haunt your organization, introducing these huge, amplified risks. And let's not forget the ground truth here. Even before agentic AI was on the scene, identity was already the #1 cause of breaches. We've said it a million times. Attackers don't hack in, they log in. They use credentials. Agentic AI takes that fundamental weakness and just pours gasoline on it. So here's how it gets really dangerous, really fast. Some developer spins up an agent for a project. To make it easy, they give it pretty broad access. Over time, that access just grows and grows. Then the person who created it leaves the company, and now nobody even knows who owns it. But the agent, it just keeps on running, long after its original job is done. It becomes this always-on, overprivileged digital ghost, which is an absolute dream for an attacker. And the tools we've all been relying on for years, our IAM, our PAM solutions, they just weren't built for this new reality. They're designed to look for a user who's a person, or maybe a predictable server workload. They have absolutely no visibility or control over these autonomous agents hopping between systems. It's a massive blind spot. Okay, so that's the problem. And it's a big one. But the answer isn't to just panic and slam the brakes on all AI innovation. The real solution is to start thinking about these agents as a new kind of employee, a digital workforce that requires proper management. And here's the good news. CISOs and their teams already have the blueprint for this. It's called lifecycle management. We solved this problem for human identities years ago. We know that the only way to secure them at scale is to manage them from the moment they're created to the moment they're gone. We just have to apply that exact same discipline to our new digital workers. And this lifecycle, it should look incredibly familiar. Just like any new employee, an AI agent needs to be onboarded correctly. It needs a clearly defined purpose. We need visibility into what it's doing, and, this is the part everyone forgets, it needs to be properly offboarded when its job is done. At every one of these stages, there are some basic, non-negotiable controls. Onboarding? That means every single agent is tied to a human owner from day one. no exceptions. Purpose. It gets least privilege access, only what it absolutely needs and nothing more. Visibility. We have to watch for privilege drift, where it slowly accumulates more access than it should. And offboarding. We need an automated kill switch that revokes all access the second its project ends or its owner leaves the company. So when you put this all together, this lifecycle approach really becomes the new mandate for the CISO. It's about making a huge shift, moving from a reactive, clean up the mess posture to one of proactive governance for AI. So here's a really crucial idea to lock onto. You can't measure the risk of an agent by just looking at the agent itself. That's a mistake. The true risk is defined by its blast radius, everything it can touch. And that makes agent security, at its core, a data correlation problem. To actually understand that blast radius, you have to connect all the dots. You need to see the agent's identity and correlate it with the cloud roles it can assume, the SaaS apps it can get into, the sensitive databases it can read, and any other identities it can use down the line. It's only when you see that whole picture that you can answer the basic questions auditors are going to ask: who has access to what and why?
Ultimately, this all boils down to a fundamental mindset shift. Today, a lot of organizations are stuck in reactive mode. They're discovering agent sprawl after it's already happened and then trying to clean it up. The future has to be proactive. It's about building guardrails to prevent that sprawl in the first place, forcing clarity on an agent's purpose the moment it's created, and building a real, sustainable process for governing them.
And that's the real end game here. This isn't about security becoming the department of no again. The companies that are going to win in this new era of AI won't be the ones that tried to block it. They're going to be the ones that figured out how to say yes to innovation, but to do it with confidence, because they understood from the beginning that securing AI is fundamentally an identity problem. So the final question I'll leave you with is a pretty simple one. As agentic AI becomes a permanent, powerful part of how your business runs, is your organization building the identity discipline it needs to be able to say yes with confidence?